All right, on page 13.1, this is basically going to go into site tools. This is pretty interesting. So it's how you draw the land, the sidewalk, put the people in there, you can put vehicles in, and get everything together on the... Okay, so let's get started. So the first thing you want to do, and you don't have to do it in the site tab, but remember where our book says level 1, that for us, since we're doing a home, that's usually floor 1. Okay, so scroll up to the top in your project browser over there. And remember, these windows need to be open. You need to have the properties browser open and the projects browser open. If they're not open, you can always go to view, user interface, and turn them on. Project browser, properties browser, okay? But you can't really run Rivet without it. It's not like AutoCAD. You don't really need it. Okay, so down here in the project browser, find the one that says site plan. So it's, I don't know, 2/3 down from floor plan or first floor. Right in the very top there, floor plans, one of them site plan. Okay, so that's where you would put basically the overall site. So a lot of times this is like the sales view or something like that on one of the earlier pages. Okay, I've got mine in a consistent colors type view right there. Okay. Now the first thing we got to do here is we got to change the view range, because it's only going to show down to 0 feet. Okay, now when we're doing this, what we're going to do right away here is we're going to put the ground in here, okay, and then the sidewalks and stuff on it. It's pretty useful because you can actually show it up on a hill. I've actually drawn one up on a 400-foot, probably a 30-degree incline hill, and you can put that mountaintop on there, and from topography lines that you can get off a lot of different places, and it's insanely realistic. And and then it's a real drawing, of course. But because you can draw those in AutoCAD or here, but we're going to draw them in here just to keep it simple. All right, so we've got it open. The first thing we need to do is we need to change our view so the depth is correct, so we can see what we're going to do. So over here in the properties group, scroll down until you see view range. It's pretty far down there. And mine's shrunk down a little bit, so it might take me a minute to find it. There it is. It says view range right underneath the extends one, and pick the edit button. Okay. In that edit button, it says it's going down to, mine says it's going down to the foundation on the view depth. Okay, I'm not sure where yours says, but change it from foundation to unlimited, so it goes down to the basically forever. Okay, whatever's below it, it will show it. Okay, so on the view depth, the very bottom one, change it to unlimited. Okay, and hit OK on there. Okay, so now we're going to basically put it in the dirt. Okay, where you do that at, it's the tab across the top. You got the architecture we're at all the time. Go to the massing and site one, the one right in the middle. Okay, all right, and then right over here. So there's site components here. It just has like old trees and people in it, which they're also available other places, and that's where we're going to get them from. But it's kind of like a regular component, when you put in a cabinet and stuff, except this is site components. All right, so we're going to pick topple surface here. Okay, pick topple surface. So this is the dirt. Okay, and if you were drawing a house that was up on a mountain, you would actually start drawing that house at 500-foot elevation. We always started out at 0 on all of ours, for the most part. Okay, and that's fine if you're not sure where you're going to put the plan. But if you know where it's going to go, you put the correct elevation, of the ground there, because you can get that from about anywhere on any town. All right, before we do that, I guess we need to figure out where our bottom of our land is. Okay, so let's hit the X and get out of this. Hit the X, okay, and then get out of the site plan and go down to one of your elevations in the browser. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to the east. Okay, and then once yours finally, mine's opening kind of slow here. Okay, once yours opens up, figure out where you want your dirt. Most of you guys might have a basement or something, so you might want the dirt to be, up on the first floor. Now mine's got a slab, so I'm going to have the dirt basically go right up to the edge of the concrete. So outside slab is 4 inches below 0. So I'm going to start my dirt at -4 inches. That's a negative. Okay. Now think about where you want to put yours. You might want to put it at 0, whatever that height is that you want the dirt to be. That's what you're going to have to type in here in a second. Okay. All right, so remember that, and then go back to the site like we were before. Okay, up at the top there. Site plan. All right, and I'm going to be -4 inches. All right, now pick topple surface again. So the way this works is you're drawing a loop, a closed loop, and as soon as so you draw one elevation height. So if you've ever seen topographic lines, they basically are like a line drawn around all over the place, and they'll say like 550 or 650, and that's how high above sea level they are. Okay, so you're drawing one of them. Okay, it doesn't necessarily have to be a loop, but the way this one works is it's going to basically make a surface on your item, and it can't make a surface without really a loop. So if you give it 3 points, it's going to make a triangle. If you may give it 4 points, like I'm going to on this house, I'm going to get a rectangle. And then don't hit OK. You don't hit OK till you're done. After I get my first, say that mine's a -4 inches high. Okay, so I'm going to go up here, I guess, first right off the bat, and I'm going to type in -4 inches. Now you type in wherever height you wanted your dirt. If it's 6 feet, then type in 6 feet. If it's -6 feet, type in -6 feet. Whatever you saw on your side elevation. Okay. Now I'm going to make a rectangle around this house, and I'm going to put all of that dirt up to that -4 inches. That's where it's going to go. Okay. So I'm just going to pick the first point, and I'm going to go around until I get 4 points. And that'll be a rectangle around this house. Now, if your house is more complicated, you might have 40 points before you get all the way around that house. Okay, mine's a pretty simple house. Just build yourself a shape around that house, and don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfect. Just do the best you can. Okay. And wherever your last point is, it's going to automatically make a line to your other point. Okay, now don't hit OK when you're done. Now we have to do the next elevation down. So think about, you don't want your house in a valley because it's going to flood, right? So most time it's on a hill. So just assume your house is on a little bit of a hill, just so we can continue on with this plan, right? And if you want a hill in the backyard, it'd be bigger in the back every time and bigger and bigger. Or let's see here, no, it'd be shorter lines in the back, and then it'd get steeper and steeper and steeper. Okay. And bigger lines in the front, but I'm just going to make mine kind of consistent, so it's kind of on a little bit of on the top of the hill that's pretty even all the way around it to keep it simple. All right, so I want it to drop. You don't want to put it in a valley, so you don't put a positive number. You want your house to be up high. So I'm going to say the dirt drops maybe, I don't know, 2 foot. So 2 foot, just so you can see this stuff better. Right? And I got to put a negative in front of that. Don't forget your negative, or let her leave. So yeah, just put -2 foot in there, and like I said, later on you can actually change all this to a different something if you want to. So now we're going to draw where it drops 2 foot. So just for education purposes, let's just pick a point there, another one. So now you can see it starts showing up because it's on the outside of the house, and it's the color of dirt. It's earth brown, right? So I don't know, something like that. So now you can kind of see what we're doing a little bit better. Okay. And now let's do another one. So I'm going to go over here and I'm going to type in -4 feet. And you can type in negative whatever you want. If you want to type a different number, do it. I'm typing -5 foot, and you got to put foot on there. And then I'm going to do another line around here, okay? So it's dropping down now. This is basically a hill. I'm creating a hill, okay? Zoom out, and then I don't know. Let's make it pretty steep, -8 feet. And keep going around it. Something like that. Okay, now all these points are adjustable. You just have to edit that surface later if you're not happy with how high the points are. If something looks stupid or something like that, you know. Yeah, whatever color it is fine. Okay, now it's the color of earth because I do have mine on realistic. Okay, now I don't know if I had it on shaded, it's still brown, but if you have it on anything lower than that, like hidden line, so you know the higher you go on this, the slower your program is going to run. Now, if you have a pretty fast program, you can run on realistic all day, and it does pretty good. But if you've got a really slow computer, you'll work with hidden lines and then just look at it every once in a while with the colors on. So I'm putting mine on realistic right now because it's keeping up. So it's a little more fun with realistic. You know, that's a little bit too much probably. All right, so I went to consistent colors. Okay, so we've got that done. I think it's good. That's good enough. You could keep going on and on forever, and literally. Like the one I drew was on a hill. There was over 200 lines around that thing. I mean, it was just crazy. So you know, you can keep on going and going. This is just a very short version of that. And you can draw those topo lines in AutoCAD at the right Z-level height, and then you bring them in here. You import them, and it will develop the ground all over those lines. And you know, which is really cool because that's how topo lines were drawn for years and years with AutoCAD, and they still are. But you can bring it into Rivet and just import it, and it'll cover that to make it match, which is really nice. That's kind of how I actually did it too. All right, so we want to do finish this with our check mark. Okay, so I think now we're on page, I'm going to go to page 13.8 next. All right, so let's look at it in 3D and see what we got. If it's way off, don't worry about it. You literally, to edit this thing, you just got to pick it and hit edit surface, and you can change all those points to where, so then you pick a point until it's at a different height. Okay, so editing it is pretty easy. I'm going to get out of that because I don't really want to edit it. All right, so go to the 3D view like we a lot of times do in our browser. And I know you can't really see anything there, so go to either consistent colors or realistic. Okay, and don't worry, we'll change it so it ain't. If you bring it up, see how it's shaped. So you kind of got to bring it up in the air to kind of tell what's going on there. But you know, 8 foot isn't really that much when you're talking about a 30-foot tall house. So I think we dropped it 8 foot or whatever that was. Okay, you'd think it might be more, but if you just dropped it a foot, you can't even hardly see it. Okay. Okay, so now we're on 13.8. So now we're going to make the sidewalk. So the nice thing about the sidewalk is it's called a sub-region. Okay, so I'm back into massing in sight in case you got out of that. You're probably still in it. Okay, I'm back into massing in sight. And where does it want us to do? It wants us to go back to the site view. So go back to the site view, the site plan. Okay, so we're over the top again. And so we're going to make a sub-region. Well, what a sub-region does is it's kind of nice because you can draw just like you're drawing right over the top of this, and it'll force it onto that dirt. So like, you know, if you're going to make a road out of this or a sidewalk that kind of follows the dirt, you know, you don't have to worry about putting every point on the right level, which is kind of tricky to do all that. You got to match it up. It's almost impossible. But this will force it to fall with it. Now, of course, if you needed it to be on a certain level, then of course you can force it. Then that would just be another topple surface. All right, so we're going to do a sub-region up here, okay? So it's over towards the right, called sub-region. And you can kind of see it puts a little something on another thing. So we're going to do, what I want you to think about is we're going to do your sidewalks and your driveway. So think about where they're at, all right? And if you can't see them, you can always go over here where it's got consistent colors, and I go to hidden line, the one above that wireframe. And see, now I can see my garage real quick. I know my garage is right there, okay? So I kind of switched over to wireframe. Now you can kind of just draw it. Now I usually recommend lines because when you get done, it has to be a finished, loop again, okay? So if you do this, you have to clean it all up. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw some lines for the driveway, and then if you want to add sidewalks, we'll add the sidewalks and adjust the lines. And then we'll put a fillet on it. There's a fillet. A fillet just rounds the edges for like the sidewalk, okay? You can see what the picture is going to do if I hold it over there long enough. You pick 2 lines and it blends it. So sidewalks is nice if they're not sharp edges. So I've got a nice one. This is a double garage. So I'm going to put a nice big one in front of that. So I'm going to start off on the corner here of the house. I put it on a hidden line so I can see it. And I'm going to go all the way up to this and maybe even past it. Once it blends it, it'll go away. It won't go past it, okay? I'm going to go a little past it on purpose. And then I'm going to go, I'm trying to line it up with this, but it probably won't, it's not finding it, so later I might just have to adjust this. I'm just going to hit escape at this point because I want it to be in line with that, and it's not lining up. So at this point I'm going to hit escape, I'm going to go, and I'm still online, I'm going to start up here. So that way I know I'm on the right spot. I was hoping to jump to it, but it didn't. Okay, and now I'm going to go down to this one. And it's really not jumping to it very easily, but that's okay. So I'm going to line it the best I can, and draw over here and touch that, okay? Now, if I didn't do that right, so for instance, I'm gonna hit escape here. For instance, say I was short. Remember, we got grips on all these things we draw, right? Say I didn't quite line that up very good. And they both double clicked like that. You know, that's not gonna work. It's overlapping, it ain't gonna like that. It's not a good closed loop. So to fix it's easy. There's actually a trim there somewhere, but you just basically pick the line, or hit escape a few times, pick the line, get out of line mode, and drop it back to where it's supposed to be. Pick that line. Use those grips to make it right. See? Perfect. Okay? So something like that. Now, like I said, the part that's past the edge of the dirt it's just going to fall away. So I don't get too worried about that. Now over here, I'm going to draw my sidewalk to the back because I have actually got a back porch on this thing. So I want to draw a sidewalk to the back. So, and you can add dimensions to it later. So I'm just basically going to kind of freehand a sidewalk here. Okay? It doesn't need to be perfect. I just want you to see how to do this more than make it perfect. So I'm making a sidewalk to the back. Okay, and now I'm going to keep going around because this has to be a closed loop. You can't just bump it into the house and think you're done. Okay, so I'm going to make it, I don't know, 3 feet wide, big enough for a wheelchair. So go with that. I'm not sure if that's the actual standard of a wheelchair, but it's pretty close. You have to look that up on. Okay. Now you can go in here. This will become a print eventually, and we're not going to spend a whole bunch of time on it. It doesn't actually talk about it much in the book, but you can go in here and add, once you get this up and done, finish. Well, don't finish it. I'm sorry. Continue sketching. Don't finish it. If you did finish it, undo. We've got to put our fillets in it first. So you go to annotate here and add your dimensions. That's what I was trying to do. Okay, and make sure it's right. And if it's not right, just adjust it. So I'm going to pick that one there and this one. So if I pick the line and pick the dimension, just like we did before, 3 foot, it forces it to 3 foot, okay? And then I could put a dimension on this. So I'm just kind of showing you how to do this. Try to add at least one dimension. It's just like we've always done dimension. Oh, that one is actually right on 3 foot, so I wouldn't change it. Okay, but eventually this will go on our prints, okay? And you can change the scale of it too, so that it doesn't look so big if you want to as well. All right, so that's actually how you change the height of it and make sure it's correct. Okay. Okay, so that's this one right here. So down at the bottom where we always pick realistic and consistent colors, yeah. Wireframe. Okay, yeah. All right, so now we're going to put some fillets on it because this is the easiest way to make a sidewalk. You just don't have to cut any boards or put any MDF bent around it, but it's the dumbest looking sidewalk on the planet. And I always try to put some, arcs on there because they're a lot more, I don't know, I just think they look better. So there's actually a fillet up here in the same place where the line and the rectangle are. The last arc looking thing over there in the middle is fillet. Pick on that and then change over here where it says radius on the left. Okay, you got to change the radius because otherwise it just gives it some crazy number. So where it says radius on the left, pick that. If you've got a 3 foot sidewalk, I don't know, 2 foot would probably work real good, so I'm going to put 2 foot. Just nice big radius. And then just grab any lines you want to make a radius on. Yep, and then you can go to town on them. You got to pick 2 lines, of course, to get a radius show up. But it really makes it, it makes it look a lot nicer. Now, some of these I don't have 3 foot like I should. I could go back and do all the dimensions and make it perfect. But I don't want to spend all day on it, just the sidewalks. Okay. Okay, now we got one little problem here, all right? So see, this line is overlapping. We've got to get rid of that. You can't have that line there. There's a couple ways to do that. You can either just, you could just, I escaped a few times, get out of whatever I was in drawing. A few more times, evidently. Pick that, and you can use the grips. And the easiest way probably is just to use grips, bring it down, and draw another little short line. There's also a break tool in here, I think. Split element. So you can pick that and pick where you want it to break. And it actually breaks it into 3 pieces, then you can delete that one off. I got kind of lucky getting that to work the first time. A lot of times I'll just use the grips. Now I noticed something else. I'm missing that line across here. This is not a closed loop, so I've got to get that line across there too. So make sure before we hit finish here, you've got to have a completely closed loop. Just like on a floor or anything else. It does not like, so if you think about this, it's an enclosed area. And there's no overlapping lines, there's no lines that cross each other because it will not work if you've got that going on. So use your grips to fix it and delete lines and add lines so you're happy with it, okay? Once you're happy with it, you should be able to hit the check mark and it should show up. Now you want it, before you do that too, make sure it's up against the building because if you're up against the house roof, you're going to have some dirt between your sidewalk and your house, which I think you probably don't want. So, I mean, like around here, I always put, leave dirt between the sidewalk and the house because unless you got a porch or something like this one, you want some landscaping in there. You don't just want your sidewalk right up against your house. It looks like it was made in the 50s, So make it look nice. When you're all happy with it and it looks good, hit your check mark. Okay, now it kind of looks goofy because I've got it on that hidden line thing. So I'm going to go back to the realistic. Okay, with everybody on the server, you probably want to make sure we save a lot. You can see how it cut it off. Okay. You can't see it very good, but that's okay. It did it. All right, and that's the main thing. Okay, now we didn't go very far that time because it took a little time, but we're on page 9. So now we're going to change these materials around. Okay, so go to the 3D view so you can see this thing a little bit better. Okay, 3D view, just the default one. Okay, and you can see it showing up now, and of course it's a goofy color. So let's fix the sidewalk first because it actually works pretty easily. And you can see I've got mine. It looks like it formed a little low or something there. It's below well, my garage might not be the right height. I don't know. I might have to play with those lines a little bit, get the height working better. But It's pretty close. All right, so I picked on the sidewalk and the concrete, okay? So now that's the only thing I picked. Now over here, where it says material in your properties, it's just like changing any other material. So where it says by category there, you pick on that, and you'll see those triple dots show up. So it's like picking the edit type thing, except it's a little different because it's this one. They always got to change stuff up on us, right? Where it says material, pick those triple dots, and that'll let us change those materials around, okay? And then go on downward. It's they're alphabetical. Drop down and find some concrete down there. And I don't know, cast in place is concrete, plain old concrete that you're going to cast in on a sidewalk or whatever. Just pick that one, right? And then just hit OK, and then it should look like concrete when you get done, okay? All right, the grass is a little bit tougher. So does everybody get the concrete picked? And I picked on the dirt here. Now we're going to change color of that. All right, same kind of way, except for some reason in like version 2018 they hid the grass, or they put it some in a different place. So I'm picking those triple dots again over in material, just like we did last time, okay? And there's no grass in there, okay? So we need to change it. So I'll try to remember how to do all this. It's called earth right now. There's earth, okay? So pick on the earth, okay? And then right click and pick duplicate, okay? Okay, and then right click and or then just pick outside of it and then pick back on the one that's called Earth 1, okay? Is everybody with me? Okay, so I'm picking on the one on Earth 1 now. So I'm no longer picked on both of them. I'm only picked on Earth 1, okay? And then up here where it says if it's got a 1 by here, it's copying everything from the other one and going to change them both. It's kind of confusing. The book talks about that. Okay, see that one where my mouse is? So over here where it said, in the right of that, there's looks like a copy type thing. If you pick on that, duplicate this asset. Now it changes it to 0. So it no longer is going to, whenever I change an Earth 1, it's not going to go back over here and change the Earth. Because otherwise they'll both change, and I don't want that. So you got to hit that crazy button over there so it doesn't duplicate everything. And it brings this little hand to 0, and that's what you're going for. And then go back to Earth 1, right-click on it, and call it, rename it, and call it grass. Because there's no longer any darn grass in here. Okay? What's neat about this, so I've had students that basically did log cabins, and you can bring in your own image file of a picture of a log home, and you can superimpose that onto all these faces, and it looks just like a log cabin. It really comes out amazing. So I mean, these are just images you can bring in. So we'll go into that a little bit more later, but you can really turn it into some cool stuff. All right, so we did that. Now let's see if I can remember how to do the rest. Okay, it says, okay, so we go to this image over here. Pick on that image, I think. Okay, so I picked on that image itself, all right? The one that looks like dirt. If I scroll down here a little bit. All right, so over there by the image again, there's a little drop down arrow. That's what I missed. Pick that little drop down arrow by the image, okay? Okay, and then, yeah, it looks like it's edit image. Must not be it. Okay, I think, yeah, you can change the color. Where did you see graphic at?
Top by appearances.
Okay, yeah, you can change it up there too, but that just changes the color. It actually doesn't actually change the image. We're trying to change the whole picture. Okay, so go back to appearance. Okay, it's a little tricky. It's not very user friendly. So it's this one up here right next to where we did the duplicate. It replaces this asset. Replace that asset. Okay, and that opens up Autodesk's library, and that's what I was trying to find. Okay, now this is the physical assets, which it used to have grass in here, and yours might if you scroll down, they're alphabetical, but mine does not, and most of them don't. Okay, but in the if you expand the appearance library, it's in there, I think. Yeah, so I double clicked on appearance library here, and it's not showing it in there. It actually shows it in Sitework. So if you pick on the Sitework in that appearance library, or you can just scroll down until you find it. But Sitework brings it to a few less of them. Okay. But if you got the appearance library, they're all there. Okay, and there's a lot of them. But they are alphabetical, so you can go pretty fast through there. So there's a lot of different kinds of grass in this one. And again, these are more just for the look. So I always, they got a high quality one. So if you got a decent computer, I would pick the high quality one and give you a better look, you know. Or you can just go with the generic dark rye, whatever you want. But I'm going to go with the high quality grass, right? So I picked that. And then there's a little double arrow thing over here on the right. You've got to hit that little button. See where my mouse is? It says replace the current asset in the editor with this asset, okay? So you got to hit that double arrow thing, all right? And it's a little hard to remember that one. That's one of the reasons I wanted to do a video on it, because I kind of wrote some notes in my book. Then you guys can close out of that asset browser from at the top, okay, top right. And it should be good. If you've got your grass, hit OK. Okay. Now that's a lot of steps just to change it to grass, but the nice thing about that is you can change anything that way, okay? It takes it a while because it's a high quality image, but or it just dies like that. All right, so my computer crashed and I had to redo it, so no sidewalk, but you get the idea. So it's kind of looking pretty cool. I put it on a bigger hill the second time. All right, so you want to take a camera view of this, and you need to do it in the. They're just going to go to first floor. So go to your first floor plan, okay? And it really doesn't matter how high the quality is here. You don't need it to be good because you can change the quality in the camera view, okay? All right, so now go back to the architecture tab. I'm sorry, I lied to you. Go to the view tab. All right, and where it says 3D view there, right in the middle, hit the drop down, okay? And you'll see camera. Does everybody see camera there right in the drop down? We're on the view tab, 3D view camera. Okay, so now if you look at the bottom left, it's sort of trying to tell you what it wants there. It says pick where you're standing or pick where your eyes are at. So I don't know, pick a nice corner view of your house. So the garage isn't as cool as the house itself, so I'm picking over here on my left side a little bit, I don't know, 30 or 40 feet back from it, right? And then move your mouse until you see a nice view of where the camera's going to place in the house. I'm going pretty far back here because I want to see the whole house, okay? And then you just pick a spot, okay? So now it created that. Now this is an adjustable. You can adjust this any way you want, okay? So I wanted the whole house, so I'm just cropping this out so I can get my whole house. Just like that, and I don't need to see that much of the dirt, so maybe up to like that, okay? Once you get that done, this is a new 3D view it called. See how it's calling the view that you're in there right now 3D view 1, okay? All right, so you can go back to your first floor, and it's still open because you're still in that, okay? Now you can adjust it if you want to a little bit. I didn't think I was far enough back, so I'm gonna drag my camera farther back, okay? So I can see a little bit better, okay? Because it looked like I was right up against the house. Turn a little bit. Now I'm gonna go back to my 3D view 1 print that was up there, and it's automatically different. So I adjusted it a little bit more. That's about right where I wanted to be. And you could turn it too, so I could get, you know, more of a isometric look at it or whatever. So I don't know, that's a nice picture over there. Now, the next thing you're gonna need to do okay, so let's go down to our little view thing down where we hit the drop down and change it more. Hit your consistent colors or realistic. I'm going to go to realistic. So you can kind of see the view there, all right? It looks a lot nicer. Okay, we've got that one showing up.
Does it have to be of your framing house?
I think I was recording any of that. All right, so I changed the wood on the exterior. I'll go through it real quick here again, but I had to basically pick the edit type, and then in the finish I picked the triple dots that brought me into here, and then I picked on the wood that it was wood stained, and I changed hit the double arrows again, or the asset, changed the asset just like last time, okay? And this one I did walnut. I'm hitting OK to get through all this. All right, now if you want to see what it looks like, go to your 3D view that we just created. I've got all these darn arrows showing up. Why are all those showing up now? I'm not sure why all my locked surfaces decided to show up. There they went away. All right, so you can kind of see the glossy. It looks more like a log cabin. I don't know, the glossy doesn't look quite as good, but Still looks pretty good. Looks like my dirt needs some work there, right? So I must have not picked the sizes exactly the way I wanted it. So I'm gonna have to go back in there and adjust that topple surface. But you can kind of get the idea. Okay, so you can adjust any image in that way. Okay, so I made my siding go sideways instead of up and down. Okay, so now we are on page okay, so we're on page 1315. We're going to change the location of this thing. 1315, okay? So I think we're going to be in the standard 3D view. So go to standard 3D view if you haven't already, okay? And what's neat about this is, so if you put a real location in this, and so this house has a lot of windows, all right? And you think about it in the summertime, if the sun's showing through all those windows, it's going to be really hot. But the sun is straight above you in the summertime. So it won't be showing through all these windows, up at least where we're at in Illinois, too bad, right? Because it's going to be on the roof most of the time. It'll be a little bit down, but it's mainly on the roof. And it'll actually tell you where that sun is and show you where the shadows are so you can see if the sun's showing in there or not. Because in the wintertime, when the sun's way over here, you know, if this is north, that way's north, I want the sun showing through the windows because, you know, it brings up your mood to see the sun in the daytime, and plus it puts in a lot of heat. So you actually get a good heat load in the wintertime. So when you're designing a house, it's nice to have the windows facing the sun in the winter and not facing the sun in the summer. And really that's how a lot of architects do it. It's designed that way. So I'm going to kind of show you how to do that as best I can. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is put the right project location. So we're on page 1315. So you go to the Manage tab, okay? And then right towards the middle here, there's project location. Okay, it looks like the Earth with a little dot on it, right? Like Google Earth almost. So you pick that little dot thing there, okay, and it brings up where you want it to be. It's default in Boston, Massachusetts. Maybe that was where Rivet was made or something. So type in a town that now it doesn't have every town under this. I'm using some kind of mapping service to find it. It doesn't have every town in the world in there. It's just got a simple map in there. So I know Charleston's in there, so I'm putting Charleston on there. Okay, Charleston, Illinois, Illinois, and I'm gonna pick search. Okay, and it found it. There's Charleston, Illinois, so I'm gonna pick it. So I mean, you can put any town in there that's about that size or bigger, and it'll probably find it. So Champagne's in there, I know, and a few other ones. But like if you put a small town in there, like the big bad town of Teutopolis, it's not showing up. It's not very big. It's a little redneck built town in the middle of nowhere. All right, so I've got Charleston, Illinois showing up on there, and what does it tell me to do after that? Just hit OK. All right, so now I'm going to be in Charleston, Illinois. Do I need to pick it? I think I need to pick it. Hit OK. All right, let me go back in there and make sure it's stuck. I think it did. Yeah, so I just hit OK there, and now I'm in Charleston, Illinois. You can zoom out and kind of see where it's at in the map. Okay, so now you're in that town. Now, if you noticed in there, it did have a latitude and longitude. So there's another, we didn't go into that, but there's a default city list you can pick, and you can actually type in a latitude and longitude and make it right where you want it to be, okay? So there's another way to do it if the town's not in there, okay? Because every place has a latitude and longitude. All right, so now we've got the sun that matches exactly where we're at in this building, okay? Okay, now we're going to basically turn the sun settings on. And this gets a little bit tricky, but hopefully I don't mess it up. All right, so we're going to turn the sun path on and then show it, all right? So that all that stuff is down here at the bottom of your visual screen here. So there's one of them here that says sun path off. I think everybody's is probably off. So pick that little right next to where we changed, you know, from the high quality and all that to realistic. Right next there's the sun. So turn the sun path on. Okay. Sun will display, not display, is relative to use. Selected sun settings. What do you want to use? Specified project location, date, and time instead. Yeah, so pick the use specified project location. Okay, all right, so now the sun's showing up on there. You can kind of see the sun, right? Now right next to that sun that we just turned on is shadows on and off, okay? So pick that shadows button and turn them on. Okay, now this is a good chance your computer is going to start locking up here, so you might want to turn the quality down a little bit. Mine's keeping up, so I'm not going to turn it down. You can always turn the quality down to like consistent colors or shaded, and it still should show it, okay? And it should keep up a lot better. All right, so I'm going to keep mine on realistic because it's keeping up. All right, now you can go down to Shift and Control key like I do all the time to turn right, and you kind of see where the shadows are at in your house. Okay, so it's got a date on here, which I haven't quite got to yet. Okay, so now we're going to change the date on this because I don't know, it looks like it's October 14th at 6 a.m. That can't do it. There's 1 p.m. So this is, okay, so this is a kind of all the old Roman clocks that use a shadow, right? So you can actually move this sun around from early in the morning until nighttime, okay? So you can kind of see where the sun's going to be and the shadow that it's going to cause. Okay, you can see the shadows of my timbers running through there, okay? And you can kind of see if the sun's going to come into the window or not, okay? All right, so let's change it to a certain date, because in the summer we want sun on the roof, in the winter we want sun over here to see it. Okay, so you could actually rotate your house so it shows that. All right, so do that. Go back to that little sun that we hit and pick it, and there's a sun setting at the very top. Okay, which this is also available in a couple other places, but there's sun settings. Pick on that. All right, so this is where you change the year and everything else that you're looking at. So if your date says like whatever it says in there, change it. Pick it and change it to 2021. Okay, whatever date it shows. Mine says 10/14/2021. All right, is everybody good? Okay, next thing we want to do, let's change it to the summer solstice and see where it's at. Okay, and then hit OK. Okay, so now we're looking at the summer solstice, so it's way up here at the top. So you can see the shadows are straight down. There's no sun getting in that window in the middle of the day, which is kind of what I was going for. Okay, so now if we go to sun settings again, and you can go to winter solstice, you know, that'd be like December 21st. See, there's 12/21 at the date, okay? If I go to winter solstice and hit OK. Okay, now it's showing me the lowest point of the sun, and the sun is definitely going to be looking into those windows a little bit. You can move, that's at 12 o'clock, right? You can move that sun around to whatever you want or change that time in the sun settings. Either way it works, okay? So that's how you kind of do the sun settings. Okay, we made it through all that. Oh my God, 1:30. Okay, so now place the sun where you want it, and pick a season, and then we're going to create a rendered JPEG of it. Okay, I'm trying to figure out what page that's on. We're going to save that image. There it is. I think that's the next thing. We're not really ready for that yet. All right, so go to your sun settings. Figure out which one you think would be the nicest picture with the sun showing on there. I think probably the winter solstice would be good, so I'm picking winter solstice. And then time of the day, I don't know, I'm up at about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, so 3 p.m., okay? And I'm going to pick OK. All right, now my sun's down. I could have drug it down there too, okay? So now I've got that showing on that view, okay? All right, now we're basically, what we're going to do is we're going to create an image based upon that. I think we'll put a couple trees in there first, so. Yeah, just keep it there. You can turn it on and off pretty easily by just hitting that sun and turning it off, and then turn it back on. Yeah, it won't show up when you take a picture of it. It's just there for your viewing. You can always turn it off by that same darn way. You turn it off right there, okay? Okay, so let's, the next thing it wants us to do there is basically put a couple trees in here. So let's put a couple trees in here so we got a better view for our other one. So go over there where your 3D view 1 is, okay, and pick your 3D view 1, figure out where that's at, and put a tree so it'll come into that image. All right, now you can always adjust this if it doesn't fit just by picking on the border and changing the crop, right? So I'm going to put one over here to the right a little bit and maybe one to the left a little bit so a couple trees show up, okay? So I'm going to go back to my first floor, Okay, so go to your first floor and we'll drop a couple trees in there. So if you go to the architecture tab and you go over to the component library and pick place component like we usually do with everything else, drop it way down. There's a bunch of trees towards the bottom. It's called RPC. I don't know if that must be a design house. Now, forewarn you, when you put trees in it, especially if you're going high quality images, it really locks the computer up. So let's just do one or two, and if you want later on, you can always add as many trees as you want and do the images. But while we're working on the rest of this project, don't put 20 or 30 trees in there. You'll have problems. Right? So you can pick any tree you want. I don't know. Red maple sounds good. I'm going to put one of them in there. And it's a big old tree. Of course, that'll really lock it up good. So I'm going to put one over here, and I'm going to put one over to the left. Okay? And now I'm going to hit escape. So put a couple trees in there, and then pick on one and change the size. So change the size of them, hit escape a few times, pick on one of the trees, and pick edit type over there in the properties, okay? And where it has the height of the tree, it says 30 feet tall. Change it to whatever height you want. I'm going to make one 15 foot high, and the other one's already 30, so I'll just leave it like that and hit okay. So you can change the trees to any size you want, and that changed them both. So if I wanted to change just one of them, I'd have to pick on it, hit edit type, duplicate it. Okay, if it calls it 2, that's fine. It says it's 30 foot, that's fine, because I'm going to change it back to 30 anyway. So duplicate it and then change the height. That way it won't change them both. Okay, 30 foot. Okay, now I've got one big and one small. Okay, now if I go back in that 3D view, it's probably going to slow it down. But you can see the tree in the backyard. You can move those trees around just like you can move anything around. One of them's floating in space. There. Okay. But you want to move them around in the top view of the floor plan so you can see where they're at a little bit better. But it makes starting to get pretty darn realistic, right? You go to 3D view. That one's low. So you can change the elevation of them too, okay, where they're at. So this one says the elevation is -8 feet tall. So I'm going to put it at 0. Apply. So you can change where they're at so they look nicer, okay? Okay, so everything you can change like that. So you can change the color of toilets like that. You can change the color of sinks. Everything you can change those materials on, okay? It goes through changing a toilet thing, but you can make it any kind of crazy, nice colors you want, okay? You're pretty crazy, pretty wild with it. All right, so now we're going to get into rendering, okay? And we're going to make a JPEG. So make sure this view here is nice, okay? All right, and if you're happy with it, adjust it as needed. And I don't, that's not the best because my tree's floating in space, but it didn't update very well either. It should have, but it is all parametric, so that for some reason that big tree's in the backyard. So real quickly I'm going to fix that. I'm going to go to the first floor here. And I go back to my 3D view. That is definitely not where I want it, right? Not updating this view at all, so I'll close that out. See if I open it back up, maybe it'll clean up. Still didn't clean up. So sometimes you need to make another view of it. There's a couple ways to do that. This view is not updating. So my tree keeps being in the back of the house for some reason. Oh, that's because I'm on the wrong side. That's my fault. I did the camera view on the wrong side. Where was that camera at? So to update that camera, you pick on that edge like that, and then you go to the first floor, okay, and then it's showing up again. So the reason I can't see it is because my camera's on the back of the house. So I'm going to move back to the front where I should have put it in the first place. Okay, so to get that to work, you actually had to pick on the box. Okay. I'm going to put it back in the front of the house where I kind of wanted it to be, I guess. Okay, and then I'll go back to that 3D view and adjust the view so you can see it. I was wondering why my trees weren't showing up, so I was looking at the back of the house, which looks a lot like the front of the house. So get that image how you want it, okay? So you're happy with it. So we're going to turn it into a JPEG, and you're going to turn that in. Okay. I don't have a sidewalk in here because my computer locked up a while ago, but that tree's still floating in space. I would adjust the height of that. So you can pick on that, change your height, maybe knock that thing down to -5 foot. Okay. And I'm kind of just guessing there, but trying to get the tree to show up on the dirt. So I dropped it down so it's a little closer to the right. Okay. All right, so that's a nice image there. All right, so let's make a rendering of that. Okay, so to do this, make a rendering of it, there's a rendering dialog box. All right, so this is my image. Now I'm going to make a rendering of this, and you can make a rendering of anything. Any of these images, like floor plans, whatever. The better ones, of course, like that. The sky, of course, I'd turn off with the sun, but we're going to make a rendering of this, so it's basically like a photo of that, right? The button for that is that little teapot down at the bottom. I think it's also in the View tab, maybe. There's render in there. Okay, there's a teapot there too. Okay, so most of that stuff we've been hitting is also, it's either there or it's in one of the places, but the teapot's in both places. So I'm gonna hit render here. Okay, and there's a couple settings in here, a lot of settings in here actually. So right now it's on exterior sun only. You can switch that around to sun and artificial, so you can actually place lights around there. So like if you're inside the house showing where the lights are at, that goes into that a little bit. Probably not going to get into that too much, but you can actually show where the lights are at in the house. You can do interior sun only. We're going to do exterior sun only. It still throws a cloud or two, but hardly any. There's no artificial lighting anyway, so exterior sun only. Okay. Sun setting. All right, so that's where you change the time again. So where it says sun setting there, hit the triple dots. All right, and that brings up the same sun setting thing we had a while ago. Okay, and at the very top, so I'm not going to do a lighting. I'm going to pick a still. Okay, so pick still at the top. Okay, now we're back to Charleston, Illinois at a date. Where do I want it? Well, I said I like the winter, and I like 3 o'clock. So that's putting that one in there. Okay, so it's going to give me that time frame. Winter solstice, that's December 21st in Charleston, Illinois. What would it look like? And I had to pick still to get to that. Okay, and you can actually put more dates in here too by hitting this duplicate and giving them names. Okay, all right, I'm gonna hit apply and okay. Okay, so now that image has changed to that date. The background, so the sky with a few clouds. You can change the background to colors and make them blue if you want. I like the sky on the background, so I'm gonna leave that alone. And a few clouds, that always looks nice. So the default one's pretty sweet. Okay. You can adjust exposure so it's lighter or darker. I don't usually do that, but you can. Now this is the important one. We're just going to do a draft so it doesn't lock up your computer. You can go all the way up to best. And, it'll take about an hour for it to run, or maybe not that long, but it'll take a while. So, but it does an unbelievable job. So you'll see how good it is with just draft. So let's just leave it on draft. If you want to make it nicer, you can play with that later. And then just hit the render button. So you could have just hit the render button when you started, but it's nice having the time frame on it, the sun and the shadows. If I have shadows showing lighting, sun, background, I think that's it. There's something with this region button. Yeah, that's fine. So that region button, you can actually hit the region button and change it. Okay, so that it only gives. Did yours cut out part of it? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
So if you hit, I forgot to tell you, if you hit the regen button, then you can adjust the size so if you hit the regen button, it shows up, and then you got to pick on the red box, and it's another one of those crop boxes. So just adjust that so it's wherever you want it to be. I didn't know you had to hit that, but I was thinking you did. All right, now you hit render, and you give it a minute. Pause the video while it's doing. So I think it's done. If you did best, it would keep on and keep on and keep on a truck until it got through it. But you can see that's draft quality, and it really does look nice. So I mean, if you go higher quality, and you can change the exposure so it's lighter and darker. So there's some things you can play with those things with render and really make them nice. And it's not real complicated. There's a blue sky in the background. So what's that? Well, it depends on if you're seeing it. Depends on the time of the day, probably, maybe. But did you? I'd have to look at it. It's always cloudy at your home, man. I'm sorry. I'm just kidding. Okay, let's see here. So now we're going to export this image. If you want to do a better one, you can make some changes and then export that one. But I'm just going to export this one and put it wherever you typically put it. So this is on my laptop, so I'm just going to put it right in there. So it's a 3D view. I'll just call it winter 3 o'clock, 3 p.m. Okay, and then save, and it should make a JPEG for that. All right, so now that's just a photo. It generated that photo for you. Okay. All right, so now we're gonna close this out, and I'm on page 1322, and we're gonna talk about setting up the 3D view a little bit better. So I'm going to 3D view. I'm gonna turn this sun setting off, so I don't have to look at that anymore. Okay, turn that off. All right, and then make sure nothing's selected in there, and if nothing's selecting in, there's a bounding box button in the properties. So we're in the 3D view, nothing's selected. I'm gonna drop it way down here, and there's a find bounding box button. There it is, or section box, sorry. Section box. So I pick section box. Okay. And hit apply. Okay, so now what this does, it cuts off your house. So you can actually make a new view of this. Where does it tell us to make a new? And you can change you can render that as well, okay? So I'd probably create another one before I did that. So a quick way to make a 3D view, there's a little drop down by your view cube. If you pick on that drop down, you can pick save view, okay? And I'm gonna maybe save it as 3D section, okay? 3D section view. Okay, now section's basically like taking a saw and cutting through your home. So that's what we're gonna do in a second. So I hit okay. All right, now you're not in it, you're still in the other one. So go back down to your scroll all the way down to your views where it says 3D view there, the one we just created, and double click on 3D section. Okay. So now we're in 3D section, and granted it looks just like 3D, but we're going to change it. All right. So over there by the view cube. So if you ever want to save two of them, you actually got to go from the 3D view back to first floor and then back to 3D view, and then you can save it again. It lets you save it, but it doesn't really save it. So it's kind of got a little bug in there. But all right, so I went into the 3D section view right here in my browser. Okay, so now I'm in that. Now I'm going to create a section view of this house, and then it's a real fast way to do a section view. So I'm gonna I picked on that box, the section view box, and all these little grip arrows let you change it. So you can kind of see what it's doing. It's pretty powerful. It does a 3D cutaway of the home. So I did it right through my staircase into my kitchen. So you can do it actually a section view of that, okay? And then all the same stuff applies. After you get that done and cut, you can do a rendering of this. You can hide that bounding box. So I know we're going through a lot of stuff. So I turn that box back off. Well, it actually went away. You'd have to do it. That's for doing a rendering. I guess I told you wrong. So let me see here. So I went back to turn that back on. Okay, so that is basically if you want to make a rendering of this section. I picked the wrong one. The bounding box, or what do they call it? Section box? Is that what you're asking? Yeah. So when you're in the image, in the view you want to do it to, it's in the properties. It's about halfway down. It's just a selection. Okay, see there's section box, and then it's open. Then you just touch the box, and you can adjust anything you want on there. Okay, like that. And then I think what the book does is you can go from the top down, and you can actually section it going down too. And what the book does again is it changes the sun settings and then does a rendering of that. So just real quickly, if we want to do a quick rendering, I'm not going to change all the sun settings. You can change the sun settings right in here too. So right there it says winter solstice. Hit those in the lighting, hit triple dots. You can change all that sun setting again. Maybe we go to spring this time. I don't know. Hit OK. And then it's a lot brighter evidently in the springtime. And then we go to render, and it'll render that. I just left it on draft so it'd go faster. I think they tell you to go to medium on this one, but and you can export that too. Now you don't have to turn that one in, but you can kind of see what it does. So it creates a JPEG of that. So you can create a JPEG of a 3D cutaway, which is pretty neat. Okay, now it goes through doing a bunch of the same stuff. So just like we set up the camera outside the house, you can set up a camera view inside the house too to take a picture of a room. Okay, you just move that little point to the beginning. So on page 1328, it talks about taking a camera view inside the house. It's the same thing as outside the house, but it's kind of cool how you can do that. Okay, and I think we're going to use one of those images later in the thing, but we'll do some more stuff with cameras later anyway. So if we did rendering, you can do a night scene. The last thing in the book, and we're done, and then you guys can kind of play with it and get it even better. So I'm going to close this out and leave that one alone. And then I'm going to go to first floor, okay? We're going to add some people into this, okay? So one thing we haven't talked a whole lot about is, a little bit about putting in objects like those trees and so forth, and bringing stuff from the internet. So we're going to talk about putting in people in this now. So go to the architecture tab, okay? And then go to the insert tab. So a lot of times we pick load family, and depending on what version you're using and everything else, there's something in there. Mine, there's nothing in there, okay? Which is fine. It's the one I downloaded. So, but if there's nothing in the load family, you can always go to load Autodesk family. Now you have to have the internet hooked up for that, so I don't know if I've got the internet hooked up. Let's see if it finds it. Okay, it found it somehow. I must have had it surprised. So I picked load Autodesk family, okay? And then down here, so I'm on page. Oh, you don't have that on yours?
Load family, get Autodesk contents, load as a group.
Okay, so you just pick load family, okay? If you've got that. And then scroll down where it says entourage. That's what you're going for. Okay? And the entourage is a few cars, there's trucks, semis, and there's people. So this is this RPC company again. They got a guy and a girl in there, you can drop them in. Okay, so you pick the guy there. And if you go to their website, they've got like 30 different people you can put in.
There's a semi-truck and a van.
All right, so I'm going to put in a guy and a girl in this thing. So load. And I don't know, put a guy on the sidewalk here. And you can change the elevation of them again. Okay, so when I loaded one of them, it loaded 4 of them actually. So I got Alex, Dwayne, Jay, and LaRon. Okay, so I got 4 guys evidently. So I'm going to load family. And when you load the female, I'm sure you get 4 females in there too. So put one there. All right, then once you get them loaded in there, you can kind of see where people are standing there. So a lot of times if you see these fancy 3D views of buildings, that's how they're doing it. Turn that up to high resolution again, realistic. You can see now I got a couple people standing in there. I can put a couple more in there too. And you can have them floating in there if you change the elevation of them, so make sure they're at the right height. Okay. I think that's everything. You can do a night rendering as well by making it dark inside there and changing the levels of it. It's got that at the very end of the chapter. But that's the end of chapter 13. Okay, I noticed that the RPC male and female are not in the entourage folder of the school's Rivet. So here they are. So if you need to get them, you basically just go, let me switch this over to student. Just basically download them like I am right here. Okay, so download both those items. Then you go to your project. And mine were in the entourage so I could find them. But then you just go load family, okay? And I don't have any of the families in mine because this is downloaded. So I use a load all of this family. But you can always download an RFA file from anywhere on the internet, right? And basically drop this down. Go to your this PC downloads, and there they are. Go get them like this. So I want to basically pick that one. Open it, okay, and loads it up. Now to go to insert it, you have to go over just like we always do those architectural components. So this is the same if we bring up and then bring it right there, okay. So architecture component, It's in those with all the rest of the components. Okay. And you put all your people all over here. It's better to do it on the floor plan, not in 3D like that. And when you're putting them in, remember they're at a height here, so you can tell them offset from a certain first floor and put them in the right place. So you want them on the second floor, make sure you tell to put it on the second floor.